if you have got a government which has closed off all other channels of peaceful change, what else could we do except to surrender, to resign ourselves to slavery, and we couldn't do that.
Today marks exactly 31 years and 1 day since the ragtag rebel army built on the romanticized Marxist philosophy shot their way to power, ousting the military junta of Tito Okello. Yoweri Museveni, alongside his proteges, largely fresh university graduates, had launched a rebellion riding on the groundswell of resentment amongst peasants in Luweero. Within 5 years, the NRA had captured power, largely relying on a major rift within the UNLF forces that led to a coup against President Milton Obote in 1985.
And the end state of our war was to establish a new Uganda, to bring back stability, to bring back sanity, to bring back integrity, to bring back pride to the Ugandans, to feel they are proud to be Ugandans.
Preaching the ethos of liberty, freedom, the rule of law, and an end to arbitrary detentions and extrajudicial killings, the NRM's credo was well laid out in the 10-point program, which were restoration of democracy, restoration of security, consolidating of nationalism and elimination of all forms of sectarianism, defense and consolidation of national independence, laying a basis for building an independent, integrated, self-sustaining national economy, and restoration and improvement of social services and rehabilitation of the war-ravaged areas, among others.
Every space now in Uganda is stable and is enjoying transformation.
Once in power, Museveni was hailed by the West as amongst a new breed of leaders that would transform Africa, a basket case run by rapacious dictators, burdened with hunger, disease and death. The regime supporters have often cited the early years of economic growth, security, a professional army with a Pan-Africanist outlook, and freedom of speech amongst the key achievements of the NRM. However, critics claim 3 decades under the NRM rule has been interspersed with excessive graft, human rights and rule of law abuses, and poor service delivery. The 2016 Corruption Perception Index report released by Transparency International yesterday reveals that Uganda is the 26th most corrupt country in the world.
Corruption has not been fought as much as we had hoped we would.
For the first time, the institution, for example, of the Ombudsman or IGG, nobody had ever heard of that thing in Uganda. The Auditor General's reports were never here.
I've done a lot in putting systems and structures in place. We are even adding committees, commissions of inquiries, and all that. Whether this is adding, making a contribution to fighting corruption or not, is something totally different.
The fight against corruption cannot depend on the president alone, cannot depend on those individual ministries or individual organs.
General ELLY TUMWINE served as the first army commander and is the founder of Voluntary Anti-Corruption Campaign, or VACOCA. This is why he believes it's difficult to fight graft.
But these days, later on when we gave in to democracy, freedom of expression, it affected our fight to some extent against corruption. You find that somebody would have been caught corrupt, but he's protected by some of his party members. And they try to cover up, and when it touch somebody, somebody is being protected, it affected it.
Others postulate that even 31 years, government remains fused with the army as the military occupies the superstructure of government.
Our type of army is that one, which is willing to go with the population in their deepest holes, in their poverty, in their villages.
Critics say in the quasi-military establishment, as an institution, the army pays its allegiance not to the state, but the commander-in-chief. 31 years after, the NRM legacy elicits ambivalence from those who took part in the Bourgeois struggle.
Ettemu eryo eriri mu Uganda olwaleero myaka 3 nga twagenda mu nsiko okulwanyisa ettemu. Teri asobola kubeera musanyufu nga yayita mu mbeera eyo ng'akyaliwo olwaleero.
This is Museveni's last constitutionally mandated term to run for the presidency, as he clocks 75 in 3 years. Yet it appears that a pliant parliament could lift the age limit just like it did in regard to the 2 presidential term barrier in 2005.
Change for the sake of change has become meaningless. Now, is Uganda ready for change? I am worried that some changes always bring some, but I think we are preparing Uganda. We have continued to be preparing and consolidating that preparation.
With a stagnating economy, the actual seal of graft and the ever-rising external debt, President Yoweri Museveni's term of office till 2021 will pose monumental challenges.
And the biggest room in the world is the room for improvement. And I would attribute the remaining aspect, that room for improvement, is also a result of our history.
However, there is hope that by then Uganda's oil will reach a global market. Energy and infrastructure projects will spur economic growth. Sheila Nduhukire, NTV.